This keeps getting crazier. The Mets offseason is in full swing and the news and rumors are flying. Imagine a world where a Mets star player and a star player from a division rival swap teams. It is for sure on the table, and it is a wild, wild scenario. I am Adam Choit, your host for today here on Mets Digest, and before we dig in on all that, I just want to give you guys a quick heads up, a quick reminder to please subscribe, because as you can see, nearly 68% of you guys watching these videos are not subscribed, so please take a quick second to do that. It is appreciated for sure. Let's get into it. Rumors are flying. Mets, Phillies, we'll see what happens this offseason. It is going to be wild, wild times for sure. We've been talking about Pete Alonso, his free agency, his impending free agency. It is about to begin shortly after the World Series, which hasn't even started yet. And like I mentioned, the offseason is in full swing already for these New York Mets. As you can see here, this is old news at this point that Mets all-star first baseman Pete Alonso is going to opt out of his contract. This is not news to any of us. I'm sure you guys have been seeing lots of news, lots of rumors, lots of stories online, offline, in the newspapers, on the radio, everywhere about Pete Alonso. All of us Mets fans are hoping that Pete Alonso stays with the team, but we are going to dig into some of the possibilities, some other possibilities today that we must confront, so to speak. Here's NL East talk. Mets and Phillies fans, whom would you rather sign this offseason, Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber, and why? And that's that is what we're going to dive into today with today's video. Should the Mets look to take Kyle Schwarber away from the Phillies this winter? That's Mets Muse right there, also posing the same question as me. Let's dig into some of the articles that have come out recently related to this story. This is from Hunter Cookston of the Sporting News. If the Phillies do move on, there is a real possibility that the New York Mets could swoop in for Kyle Schwarber. According to Scott Lauber of the Philadelphia Inquirer, the expectation is that Schwarber is seeking a 5-year deal close to $30 million annually. That could end up around $150 million range by the time he puts pen to paper. It's a lot of money to attribute to any slugger, given he'll turn 33 next season, TBOH's Matt Davis wrote. Phillies are expected to do anything it takes to retain Kyle Schwarber. The Phillies already have an expensive roster, with their payroll currently sitting at $193 million, leaving $51 million in space before hitting the luxury tax threshold. Schwarber, even with the big commitment, would still be worth the long-term deal for any club. He's definitely a great power bat, that is for sure. This is from Matt Higgins, from Sportsnaut.com. This would be the Phillies' worst nightmare. Schwarber leaving Philadelphia for a National League East rival in the New York Mets. The Mets embarrassingly missed the postseason after having the best record in baseball at one point. Owner Steve Cohen will do whatever it takes to bring a World Series championship back to Queens, and signing Schwarber would move them closer, especially if the Mets lose Pete Alonso in free agency. A lineup of Schwarber, Francisco Lindor, and Juan Soto would be incredibly dangerous. And that's essentially what I'm getting at, what I'm looking into, and what I'm seeing is that these two players, Alonso and Schwarber, are essentially backup options for the team that they are not on. Schwarber is essentially a potential backup option for the Mets, as is Pete Alonso for the Phillies. Not backup starting players, of course, but backup in terms of if things don't work out with the player that they currently have on the team, so to speak, or have had on their team for their recent tenures with their respective teams. But yeah, let's continue to dig into this a little bit more. This is also from Hunter Cookston, continuing on his piece. I wanted to splice in those other pieces there. The Mets are at risk of losing a power bat in Pete Alonso, so signing Schwarber would allow Mark Vientos to move to first base. Seeing Schwarber in a Mets uniform would be an unusual sight for Phillies fans. This move could significantly boost the Mets' playoff chances after a disappointing season. Nonetheless, every team will maintain a backup plan just in case. Hunter Cookston, The Sporting News. And this is from Michael Bronner, SI.com. Signing Alonso would likely mean letting Harper move to DH full-time, something he probably would not be against at this point of his career, while giving him the occasional start there instead of Alonso. The question then becomes whether or not Alonso is the right fit for Philadelphia. While specifically Alonso would take some getting used to after 7 years of booing him in Philadelphia, there is no question the superstar slugger would make this team better while giving them flexibility to move the defensive alignment around. So interesting to take a look at this story from a Phillies perspective, from an MLB, from a broad perspective, from a sky view, so to speak, of to see what some of the Phillies insiders and some of the folks who follow that team more directly, what they think of the situation. Definitely looking at things from all angles here on Mets Digest. That is for sure. Let's continue on here. This is also from Michael Bronner, continuing on in his piece from SI. Alonso did not have the same kind of season as Schwarber, but he is 2 years younger, strikes out far less, and is less reliant on the long ball to make a huge impact. A serious argument can be made that bringing Alonso into the fold provides this team with an offensive upgrade if Schwarber were to leave. Needless to say, most fans would prefer keeping Schwarber rather than bringing in Alonso, but if the Schwarber negotiations prove more difficult than many think they will be, someone like Alonso would be a sensational backup plan. So yeah, we're covering things from all angles here on Mets Digest, and that gives you a little perspective into the Phillies mindset and it's going to be a wild offseason for sure. It would be quite something if Pete ended up in a Phillies uniform and Schwarber as a Met. That would be completely crazy. But you can see how both teams, there is an incentive to retain the current player. There's an incentive, but also a sentimentality and nostalgia. The fans' hearts and the fans' minds and the fans' emotions, while not going to have the ultimate say in where these players end up, and is not going to be the ultimate say in terms of these owners of these teams making these decisions. It definitely plays into it. But of course, money talks, money walks, and like in most scenarios, money is going to carry the heaviest weight when it comes to where Pete and where Kyle Schwarber end up this offseason and who they sign with. Here's a look at Schwarber's numbers. You can see pretty damn consistent over the years. 846 career OPS, pretty much a positive WAR every year. Of course, other than that, it's 2020, the short season in the lockdown COVID year. But yeah, pretty solid numbers. This man does have 340 career home runs, a power bat. I mentioned his age. And I also wanted to take a look at here. These are his postseason numbers. And again, of course, postseason numbers are going to be a smaller sample size. But for Schwarber, it's not a bad sample size. 73 career games, 244 at-bats. So it's roughly a half a season. And his OPS in the postseason is actually a tick higher than his regular season, perhaps more than a tick, hovering at over 900, which is, of course, elite. I always like to take a look at the postseason stats. Again, they're not the be-all, end-all, and usually small sample sizes, but it does indicate sort of a clutch gene, and that's something that I do believe in, that, with postseason, hearts will be racing, nerves will be challenged, so it's good to know what you're getting into with the player if they do have some sort of track record in the postseason. Here are Pete's numbers. We've looked at them many times over the course of my time here on Mets Digest. But again, stellar season last season from Pete, 871 OPS. He's been a consistent bat. He plays the field. He's younger than Schwarber. All the more reason to re-sign Pete Alonso with the Mets beyond just the sentimental nostalgia and the fact that he's been a lifelong New York Met so far in his career. And here's a look at Schwarber last year, the numbers that he put up. Again, 56 home runs, career high, 132 RBI, career high, 111 runs, career high, 10 stolen bases, also a career high. And that would probably go up with the Mets as well. The Mets last year were high-achieving stolen base team, thanks to Antoine Richardson and his elite coaching. And again, and also here, 152 weighted runs created, a career high for Schwarber. So should the Mets lose Alonso and acquire Schwarber, that's nothing to blink at. That's nothing to sneeze at. He is a excellent baseball player all around. This is Crossing Broad here, giving their opinion about about the situation. Pete Alonso for 7 years sounds like a better move than Kyle Schwarber for 5 years. Just another look at a Phillies mindset, so to speak, and owner of Thou here on Twitter X giving a potential lineup for the Mets next season. In the field here are Alvarez, Alonso, McNeil, second base, Brett Beatty, third base, Francisco Lindor, shortstop, Nimmo in left, Cody Bellinger in center, Juan Soto in right field, DH Kyle Schwarber. So this person here has Alonso and Schwarber both with the Mets, and Cody Bellinger being added to the team. That's what I want to see. I don't want the Mets to lose players. I want the Mets to get better. I want to keep the best players that the Mets have and get better players to join them. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of all this craziness in this offseason? Alonso to the Phillies, Schwarber to the Mets. The Yankees, of course, have been involved in a lot of rumors as well. The rumors are flying. But what do you think? What is the most likely scenario, how things will play out? I appreciate you guys watching and checking us out here on Mets Digest. Please like, share the video, subscribe, do all those things. Comment below. Let me know what you think. And let's go Mets.